Hello everyone, you're welcome, and today we are talking about a course, Sociology, SOC 101. It's an interfaculty course that is done by most of all the departments in the Faculty of Social Sciences, including psychology, social workers, the sociologists, the public administration, political science, religion, philosophers, and other departments like geography and others in the faculty. So we will start by understanding the etymology and the literary meaning of sociology. So the word sociology is socio and logos. So there are two Greek words. Two Greek words. Socio means society, while logos means study or science. So literally we'll say sociology refers to the science of the society or the scientific study of society. Yes. So that is the word. Sociology is one of the behavioral sciences in the sense that they have in the center of the activity the studying the culture and belief system in the society, the human beings in the system. Just like all that social sciences, there are behavioral sciences like psychology, sociology, political science, economics, etc. Right? So they are called social sciences. First, they are called science because they adopt the scientific method. What is the scientific method? In one of my videos in Psychology 101, I've discussed the scientific method. So we understand that when we say any area of study is a scientific field, it is because they adopt the scientific method. Science is not interested in your conclusion, what you discovered. They are interested in how did you get to that result? How did you discover that? How did you get to that conclusion? That is what science is interested. Science obeys a systematic procedure to get a result, starting from definition of problem, identification of problem, definition of identification, right? Then you talk about literature review, you talk about formulation of hypotheses, and all of those things which we have done before. But in sociology, it is the same scientific method, but guys, the way they call theirs, they call it the ethics of science or the element of science, right? So these scientific steps in sociology, they call it the ethics of science. Please take note. The elements of science or the ethics of science, that is what is called. Now, how did they call their own? How is the step in sociology like, right? It is from observation, the one we generally call identification of problem or definition of problem. They call it observation. The next step is isolation. The third is classification. The fourth is verification. Fifth is prediction. And last is control. This is the scientific step in sociology. If you understand what they mean, even though you don't need it here, you understand that it is the same problem or the same steps we talked about in the other course, Psychology 101, definition of problem, literature review, formation of hypotheses, selection of sample frame, collection of data, analysis of data, and report of findings. So when you report your finding, if your finding stand the test of time, then it will become a theory or control. Yes. So that is the scientific step in sociology, and we are saying that it is a science because you follow this systematic step to arrive at the results in research. And it is a social science because it also have man at the center of its activities. Like we have reviewed the relationship between psychology, sociology, and other courses, other social science subjects. You understand that they have these the same concepts. Like you hear culture in many courses, you hear variables, you hear research, you hear case study, you hear all of those things in almost all of these areas of inquiry. They are under the same origin. At least everybody came from God, right? They use the same methodology, which is the scientific method, right? They use the same, and the fourth one is the anthropocentric viewpoint, meaning that they have man in the center of their activities. Psychology as they are individual behavior, sociology group behavior, and culture norms in society, culture beliefs in society, power of man in relation to the governmental agencies, political science, man with power, economics, man with money, social work, man in relation to how to cope to his problems, right? Philosophy, the thinking man, yes, what again, others, right? Geography, man in relation to his locations and his environment. So that is sociology, and that is their own scientific step. Isolation, observation, isolation, classification, verification, prediction, and control. That is the element of science in sociology, and they call it the ethics of science. These are things we should pick because this course is a computer-based exam, and it's going to be objective exam. So you'll be sure to pick these things very importantly. So we continue. We are talking about, when sociology came out, there are critics. There are people that said, no, sociology should not be a science. What do you mean? How can we use science in sociology? How can we adopt this whole scientific method? Are they biology? Can we go to laboratory and study them? Are they physics? Can we observe them? All of these things. So there are 4 major points that the critics pointed out, which are worthy of note. Number 1, they said that sociology merely elaborates on the obvious. What do they mean? That because they believe that when there is riot in the society, everybody knows. So who is studying it scientifically? When there is hunger, famine, when there is bad governance or good governance, everybody knows. So why are we doing science on this? That they merely elaborate on obvious matters. Secondly, they said human behaviors are irrational. So why are we using science? Can we get something that is objective doing this? Can we get it? Because as one may ask you, how is the country? How is your country? How is the economic situation? You see that people will submit their own positions just the way it affects them. That is what they mean, that human being very irrational or biased, sentimental. As bad as a country's government may be, you still see persons that are favored in it, and they will tell you, okay, everything is very fine, at least this is the best government we've had, while others are languishing in poverty and unemployment, right? So you see, that is the second point they said, why do you do that? We can't use science in the society because they are merely irrational and elaborating on the obvious. That is the second one. The third one is that they said again that human behavior is essentially private. Very private in the sense that how you behave outside, as influenced by every other person around you, is not how you behave when you are inside. Right? You will be more free and you do naturally as you wish to, not caring of anything when you are inside, but when you are outside, you modify your behavior. So that your behavior outside is just the one you want to show us. The real behavior is very private, and science cannot get into your rooms to do those things, into your private areas to get those things, right? So that is their third one. So sociology should not be studied, or society should not be studied, as a science, right? The fourth reason they are saying is that the scientists, or let's say the sociologists, or the so-called persons that want to study society scientifically, are also part of the society, the humans in the society. So who then will study who? Biologists know who studies who. At least they study the organism, they can put them in the lab. The bacteria, they can put them in an incubator and study them with their microscopes and everything. The physicists, the astronomers, they can put up anything they want to use and study the physical environment, even the geography. Even in geography, they can study the environment, all of those things. So, society, you are part of the society. So, who is the scientist and who is the society? Right? So, these are the things they said that as a critics against sociology as a science. Okay, having said that, we move. The little history of sociology we're going to be talking about will be done in the next video, but it's important to note something very important here, that sociology came up in the 18th century during the Enlightenment stage. Please pick these two words: 18th century Enlightenment stage. 18th century Enlightenment stage. This is the beginning of sociology, when sociology began. And there are those Enlightenment stage is a stage when human beings started reasoning again. Initially, before the Enlightenment stage, it was the Dark Ages. So during the Renaissance, rebirth of knowledge, Enlightenment stage came up when human beings started thinking again, started questioning the whole theological activities, that anything that happened, they say is God. If somebody died, they say it's God. If fire burned, they say it's God of fire. If there is famine and drought, they say it's God of harvest. If there is too bad rain destroying everything, they say it's God of rain that is angry. All of these things, they are attributed to an immediate act by the supernatural. Before, even if somebody died, they say God has given, God has taken, and all of those things. But when science came, science started questioning all these things. That's when science came back, right? Yes. So that was the Enlightenment stage that all this things happened, and I pointed out that the Enlightenment stage was in 18th century. Now, having said that, it is very worthy of note again in this course for the exam to understand that there are three major events that led to the beginning of sociology. Three major events that are worthy of note that you should not mistake to remember. They are, we have the Industrial Revolution, French Revolution, and Scientific Revolution. Industrial Revolution, French Revolution, and Scientific Revolution. That is progress in natural science also. That's what it's called also. So you see that Industrial Revolution was an economic revolution. French Revolution was a political revolution. And Scientific Revolution was technological revolution. And what happened in the Industrial Revolution? Initially, before the 18th century, man was simply living a simple life, farming, gathering food, hunting, eating, enjoying and sharing, and everybody was fine, and there was enough food in the society. And before you know it, industries, when science came, right? Remember 18th century, science came back and reasoning came back. You see persons now trying to go to companies. Some people started looking for white-collar jobs, that before a week you'll be paid a huge amount of money just that you are packing drinks and cocking the drinks, and okay, the machine cocks it, and you are doing all those things, and you are pushing this thing, and you are doing gala and all of those examples, right? Those this advent of packaged food, and those mining, people go to mine. Everyone left farming, and this led to a problem, economic problem, like food. There was not enough food in the society anymore. and the little that remain, people can even steal to have it, people can even kill to have it, and it became a problem in the society. And that was one of the problems that motivated the founding fathers that we're going to discuss next. The founding fathers to ask the question, how do we solve this problem scientifically? Can we apply science in this? So this is how the Industrial Revolution led to the beginning of science, of sociology, or the beginning of the science of sociology, or the beginning of the scientific study of the society called sociology, right? The second one is the French Revolution. The French Revolution around, is it 1948 or so, yeah? Or 1848, yeah. The year is not the more important thing, right? But the main thing was that in French Revolution, which I call the political revolution, right? You understand that at that point in France, that remember before the Enlightenment stage, it was the papacy, the theological stage. Just like in Rome, everybody, it was the Pope that was the president ruling. The same thing in France, only the Pope was allowed to be the leader, the president, if I will use that word, right? And they were the one establishing and dishing out the whole rules and everything, and you must obey. They are using the army to coerce people to obey. They are using the army to force you. In fact, at a point in that France, the tax people pay was too much. You cannot work 1,000 naira per month, $1,000 or 1,000 francs per month, and you are paying tax of 500, right? And this kind of thing, and the society, the people, the citizens became so bad or angry because life was so difficult for them to continue living. They couldn't cope. Remember, this economic industrial revolution have led to white collar activities, and now even the money they are getting, the tax, they were using tax to collect almost all of them, using army to force them to live by whatever they said. If you say anything wrong, you attack the rebel and they'll kill you. So you see that these citizens became prisoners, or like prisoners in their own society, in their own country, and that led for them to fight. It should be also important to figure out two things. There are three things that the French people fought for. Because when this thing became too bad, they revolted. That is revolution. They fought against the government. They killed the politicians, the soldiers, they fought and overthrew the government. And the three things that motivated them to fight, it was in French, right? It is called égalité, liberté, and fraternité. So égalité means they need their equality. After all, we are all equal before the law. Fraternité, they need their oneness back. Liberté, they need their freedom. How can we live like prisoners in our own country? So please mind these three terms, right? Okay, so this is the problem. This revolting against the government, against the papacy, they thought it will result to their equality, égalité. They thought they would receive their freedom back, liberté. They thought they will be together again and be happy, fraternité. But unfortunately, this led to the state of anarchy in the society, a state of lawlessness, a state of anarchy. This is so great a lawless situation, and people started killing themselves. People started dragging lands. You see rapes, you see armed robbery, you see burglary, you see burglary, yes, not burglary, sorry. So you see all of these unfortunate crimes, and nobody to control it, nobody to regulate it anymore. This is a problem in society, and one of the reasons that motivated the founding father to say, how do we help out using science? So this is the third one, second one. The third and the last was the scientific revolution or progress in natural science. At this point, they have discovered cure for malaria. At this point in life, in the 18th century, they have discovered cure to this. They have, in fact, they have even started making penicillin, because that is the first drug they use for malaria, right? Yeah, but now malaria have worn clothes. It doesn't. Malaria is very coated in penicillin doesn't go for malaria anymore. So all of this progress, they were able to bring even fertilizer to help the crop productions. So it's no more God of harvest killing a lot of things, right? They were able to mitigate flooding, so it's no more God of water angry, all of those things, right? Science has started doing a lot of things in the natural sciences like biology, and even in medicine, a lot of things, even in chemistry, even in physics, industries are on. So they said, if we have achieved this level of progress in the society using, in this biological or in these fields using science, why don't we also try to apply science in the country, in social life, to know how science can be applied to regulate life in society? This is a third motivation. So in conclusion, we have discussed what is the literary meaning of sociology. We talked about how it relates to other social sciences. We talked about the science of sociology and why it's called a social science, and the ethics of science in sociology, where we talked about observation, isolation, verification, observation, isolation, classification, verification, prediction, and control. Then we talked about the event, the Enlightenment stage in the 18th century, and we talked about the three events also that led to the beginning of sociology. These things you must know and you must point them out, so that you must have them at the tip of your finger, because it's going to be a time-sensitive exam, CBT. So see you in the next video, and please do like, share, and subscribe. For those of you in other departments, you understand that you love to see our playlist, because you're also going to be doing Psychology 101. Those are general courses. And so God bless you, and see you in the next video. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, so that you can have access to all these videos. Thank you.